It's time to switch on
today's News Talk Radio. Very entertaining. Yeah! TNT.
Yes, TNT, today's News Talk, and today we are going to be talking about the news throughout the course of this show and, of course, the course of the day, because that's what we do here. Very happy to welcome back this morning the one and only Mario Ineco. Mario runs a YouTube channel, quite a hefty YouTube channel with a lot of clout, I might add, Maneco, Maneco 64. It's the home of alternative economics and contrarian views. And to say that you've got a background in financial markets and economics is really doing you short, but I don't have enough time to give you all the accolades and list all the experience that you have. Suffice to say, you're a bit of a guru when it comes to all things financial. And welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me back.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And, it's been a few weeks, maybe a month or so since we last talked. And again, so much happening at such a rate of knots at the minute, Mario. It's very difficult to keep up with it. You've got a very, how would I say, productive YouTube channel. You go on there, you're putting videos out there literally on a daily basis at the minute. I've took some screenshots because there's so much content. We don't have time to unpack it all here on TNT, but what I want to do is take little snippets of what you've been talking about over the last few days. So let's kick off with one of the most recent videos you posted up there. The sun sets on the petrodollar as the BRICS monetary order emerges. I think that's a very good way to put it. The sun is setting on the petrodollar. It's not a collapse. It's not a crash. It's not an implosion. It's a waning away. And as it sets in the east, this other thing's rising up sets in the west. Sorry, this other thing's rising up literally in the east. Tell us what's going on with the petrodollar.
Yeah, the petrodollar basically was a system devised after Nixon took the whole Bretton Woods system off gold and destroyed it. So they had to find a way to build up demand for the dollar. So they did a deal with the Saudis that they would only sell their oil in dollars, not just to the Americans, but to the whole world. But that's been waning because the Americans have, especially in the last 10, 15 years, abused the privilege by using the dollar as a weapon for sanctioning countries that would not go along with what they wanted to do. And the two biggest opponents of that, of course, have been China and Russia. And now a lot of other countries have realized that there's an opportunity for them. So they're joining those two countries through BRICS. BRICS event was only 5, but now it's expanding massively. And even Saudi Arabia was announced last year that they were going to join BRICS. In the beginning of this year, they're a little bit like sitting on the fence saying, oh, we're not joined yet. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like they've joined. And what that will do, not just for America, but for us in the UK and Western Europe, is that there will be a lot less demand for our currencies. Because why does Indonesia need to pay Saudi Arabia in dollars to buy their oil? They can use their own currencies. Why should we use dollars to buy oil from Saudi Arabia? We could use pounds or use the Saudi currency. So that's what it's about. And when there's less demand for a currency, just like anything else economically, that thing loses value relative to other things. And that's what's happening. And that's why I think we're also getting the cost of living crisis, prices rising, not just in the US, but in the UK and the rest of the world, because everything is becoming more expensive in terms of dollars.
Just on that front, talking about BRICS, there's an awful lot of interest in so many other countries wanting to come in and join BRICS. It's almost like what we saw with Europe and NATO. After, in the 90s and 2000s, so many countries wanted to join NATO. Up until recently, Sweden has just joined NATO. I think we're starting to see this realization here that this dollar business is on the wane. It is on the ropes at the minute, and a lot of other countries are wanting to align themselves with BRICS. And also, when you talk about trading in dollars, probably 6 months ago, I can remember the president of Kenya, William Ruto, is getting a collective of East African countries together. You've got Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya. They were talking about trading in their own currencies as well. Why should we have to trade in dollars as well? And I think the penny's dropping, Mario, and people can smell blood in the water. I liken the dollar in America to like an aging old lion that's ruled the pride for a long, long time, but it's losing its teeth and it's losing its claws and it's lost its strength. And now there's a lot of young would-be kings of the pack looking with their eyes on America, realizing maybe now's the time to pounce and seize that dominance. Is that maybe the way that you see it, or is that a reasonable analogy?
Yeah, that's a very good analogy. And the other thing is, well, up until 1971, the dollar was considered to be as good as gold. So it was a solid currency. And the petrodollar helped it as well, with the demand for dollars. But now, ever since 2008, the whole world is realizing that the United States, through the Federal Reserve and the Treasury there, and us through the Bank of England and the ECB, we just create all these reserves, because that's what the central bank money is called, out of thin air. I think central bank balance sheets, they've gone up from like somewhere around 3 trillion in 2008 to recently up to $30 trillion. So these countries are saying to themselves, why should we accept currency that's created out of thin air and sell them real valuable commodities and land and infrastructure to these countries? It's almost like, the West has become like the old banana republic. There's no difference anymore between the pound, the dollar, and the Argentine peso or any other banana republic currency. So these people are saying, why, like you said, in Africa, these countries that are getting together, why can't we just use our currency? They're not much worse than the dollar anymore.
Yeah, and of course, they're losing out on exchange rates as well. It's like if you send money overseas using Western Union, for example, they're taking a cut in the conversion fee if you're trading in dollars and one thing and another. So, America always wins. The house was always winning in that one, but maybe now the time is up. We've got to take a little headline break now, and when we come back at the other side, I want to look at debt, because American debt is going hand in hand with this falling off of the petrodollar. So we know that so much money's been printed over the last few years in America, even more so, arguably, than in the previous few hundred years combined. And of course, that can't continue forever. That trajectory is unsustainable. And sooner or later, the bubble has to pop. And what could be expected realistically? If that bubble, and not so much if, sorry, let me correct that, when that bubble pops, what are we going to see possibly happening in America, and then the fallout across the rest of the world in terms of financial markets? Yes, talking this morning with Mario Inego just about what's going on with the petrodollar system, what it's signaling for America. Mario, I want to just look briefly at debt as well. In the UK, over the last 10 years, the rise in the amount of people that are seeking help from debt charities is going up through the roof. People are struggling. People are maxing out their credit cards. People are going bust, or they're racking up crazy amounts of credit simply because they can't make ends meet, or they're living beyond their means. Now, the advice is, as soon as you get into trouble, at that point, you should seek help. But very, very few people do that. What they do is they keep maxing out this card, opening a new card, taking out an overdraft. And only when you're absolutely at the end of your tether, or about to collapse into the financial abyss, or can't get any more credit, then people tend to go and seek professional help. And thankfully, there are debts restructuring plans out there and companies out there that can help. But is that the case on a country level? for example, with America, they've been in serious difficulties for a long time. And rather than seeking help, I don't know how they would even get help, but they keep printing and printing and printing and printing. And those presses have got to break down sooner or later, or they've got to run out of ink for sure. What's going to happen, or how much time have they got left before the whole thing implodes?
Yeah, that's the difference between a country and an individual. A country has the monopoly through legal tender laws to issue the currency, and the central bank obliges. They're not really independent. So even Alan Greenspan, the former chairman of the Federal Reserve, said we can just print, and they default. They are defaulting as we speak, and so is the Bank of England. And how does that work? Well, the currency just becomes worth less and less, and the people who get hurt are the people who are using the currency, and that's why people are so hard up and have to keep borrowing. While governments, they have this special privilege, but there is a point though where the debt becomes so huge as a percentage of GDP, and interest rates start rising, that even we could come to a point where the dollar or the pound, which are backed by this debt, could become worth very little, and when that happens, the whole system collapses, and they won't pay it back. They'll just default on it through a collapse. A lot of opponents of this view say that it's been happening since 1980. The U.S. debt was around $1 trillion. Now it's almost 35 trillion, the national debt, and it's been able to keep going. I would counter that the reason that's been able to perpetuate is because the cycle in interest rates and government bond yields has been down. So it's always easy to refinance and roll over the debt for a cheaper rate, and that keeps the system going. But I'm afraid now that's changed, that cycle. Ever since 2021, we've seen not just central bank rates go up from like 0 to 5, but also government bond yields go from sometimes 0 and even negative to around 4.5, 5. And I think they could go a lot higher. And we could end up just like Greece almost ended up in 2011, 2012. They had to be bailed out, but the Greek government was basically on the brink of collapsing and defaulting. And that's how I see it. And that's why people, it doesn't pay to a lot of times, or when they work, they get a currency that keeps losing value because the central banks and the governments are continually defaulting.
One other point that I want to raise with you, because the time goes by so quickly here, and I would strongly encourage anyone that has an interest in this topic. Mario and I talk about it any time that he comes on here. Parallel Mike's another guy in Poland. He focuses very much on the investment side of things as well, and what's going on with world monetary systems. Check out Mario's YouTube channel, which is Maneco, Maneco 64. There's a library of videos on there that you can scroll through and watch. And I mean, you're posting them up almost on a daily basis at the minute. A lot of people are watching them, Mario. One you put up 2 weeks ago, just in closing, decentralized BRICS plus money system could be up and running soon. So we're talking about the de-dollarization. We're talking about the demise of the dollar, the falling away from the petrodollar. Now this BRICS decentralized money system could be up and running soon. How soon are you talking about if and when that comes to light?
Well, they're having a meeting, the BRICS plus some other countries in Russia, because Russia is the president of BRICS in 2024, and they're already talking about it. And it would just simply be a system where countries could trade in their own currencies. But in order to trust those currencies, you have to have some kind of monetary asset in each country backing the currency. It's not going to be like like in the gold standard. So they're getting away from having U.S. treasuries or dollar reserves to buying gold, and that's what this new system is going to be like. They're going to use gold because gold is apolitical. It's neutral, so it makes the system fairer. Am I saying that it's going to be a perfect, fair system in the BRICS? Probably not. There's always going to be a few countries that are stronger and dominate, but at least they'll be able to get away from the dominance of the United States. And I think that's what they're trying to do. They're not really trying to fight, not fight back. They're not trying to destroy the dollar system. They're just trying to go another way. That's all it is.
I think as I'm sitting talking to you, I don't know why, but Bob Dylan songs are coming into my head at the minute, all right? And one of them that I think sums up what's happening at the minute is the times they are a changing. That's one for sure. But if you want, I'm thinking about what you said there about America and the petrodollar system and the way the dollar's going. If you listen to, I don't know if you're a Bob Dylan fan, but if you listen to Like a Rolling Stone, the first verse of that song, once upon a time in your prime, you threw the bums a dime, didn't you? Now you're just hanging out, scrounging your next meal. That's what I see as almost like a prophetic statement concerning what's happening in America. And I'm not glad to see it. It's never good to see a nation collapse because there's a lot of good people who are going to be affected by this. And of course, we're going to be affected too, because if America goes down, the saying is, if America sneezes, Britain catches a cold. That happens in just about every aspect. So be under no illusion. When this happens, Mario, none of us are going to get away unscathed to some degree, and that's where good financial planning, personal financial planning comes in that might just save your bacon. So listen, we're pretty much up to time in this one right now. Massive thanks to you for taking time out of your morning to come on and speak with me. I've told you the YouTube channel, Maneco, Maneco 64. Also, you can follow Mario on X or Twitter at Maneco, Maneco 1964. Follow him on there and see what he has to say, because he talks about, it's not just about money. He's talking about a lot of geopolitical stuff on there as well. So, tried to cover as much ground as I could here, Mario. I think we've done justice here, and big thanks to you, and hopefully we'll talk again sooner rather than later. What do you say?
You're welcome, and I'd like to talk to you anytime.
Brilliant.
Soon.
I appreciate it very, very much, and I really mean that. You have a great day, whatever you're heading off to do right now.